Dr. Sadeghi, do you mind telling us about German New Medicine, your background in it, and also giving us a little more information on what a virus is when it pertains to this method, this philosophy?
Sure. So one of the trainings that I've had has been that of work of Dr. Derek Hammer. And Dr. Hammer is the founder of German New Medicine. And although controversial, but really the core of it, it captures the relationship between, if you would, the mind and the body. The other training that I've had is in anthroposophical medicine. And I'm going to bracket and talk a little bit about my philosophy when it comes to currently what we're going through, that I think it would be far more effective than going maybe in too much depth and detail on Dr. Hammer's work, which is focused specifically on cancer. Okay. And how various different bacteria and viruses can initiate a set of issues and problems that radiologically, by getting a specific CAT scan with contrast of the brain, will be able to, if you would, isolate and find and see these various areas. And then there's specific level of communication and treatment that can take place that would be helpful in the resolution. And then post-treatment, you can repeat the CAT scan with contrast, and you can see the resolution of the initial conflict, as we refer to it in German New Medicine. But I think, given that we started the conversation by what is right now, what is within the pop culture globally, in terms of the level of anxiety, the level of fear, and that most people, perhaps to some extent, might be experiencing it, and which is really related to the coronavirus or the COVID-19 pathology. So there are several theories that I would like to share with you. The first theory is my understanding of what a virus is based on my training in anthroposophical medicine. Mm-hmm. In the United States, when I say anthroposophical medicine, usually someone tells me Gesundheit or bless you, because they think that I sneezed, because not many people know about anthroposophical medicine, what it is. But the founder is a person that we consider as a conscious clairvoyant by the name of Rudolf Steiner. Dr. Rudolf Steiner was also the founder of several other perhaps contribution to civilization, including a form of farming that is referred to as biodynamic farming, which you cultivate the soil, and you can really get far more nutrients out of the soil without any type of chemicalizing or fertilizing the soil. Mm-hmm. Also, Rudolf Steiner contributed to a form of pedagogical studies or educational system, which is referred to as Waldorf education, which pays close attention in the development, the psycho-spiritual development of a child as they go through their process and their development. Just to give you a specific example of how detailed this system way of approach to medicine is, for instance, he was the person that way before we had any form of antibiotics, he really discovered and he noticed and he shared with us through his writings the importance of, for instance, the importance that different metals have on our body. So if you're from the human kingdom, Homo sapien, the metal of importance, which we refer to as the holder of spirit or light, is that of iron. Mm-hmm. And this is the reason that right inside hemoglobin, there is the placement of iron. So when you look at someone that they're dealing with either microcytic, small cell anemia, or macrocytic, large cell anemia, it really comes back to the way that they are diversifying or distributing the light within them, their spirit, their life force. So that is a completely different approach of just putting someone that has a small cell anemia or microcytic anemia on just iron and make them constipated and so forth. When you look at the microbiome, the element that holds the light for them, it's sulfur. This is the reason that the majority of antibiotics, they're sulfur-based.
Wow.
Because you disrupt that. When you're looking at within the insects and orthopods, within insects, it's actually copper. And this is the reason that most insecticides, the chemicals that they kill insects, they're copper-based. Because this is how they get in and they disrupt the copper and you destroy them. So, for instance, for the plant kingdom, we know that there's chlorophyll instead of hemoglobin, and within chlorophyll, you have magnesium. So magnesium is the holder of the light that they get from the sun, and that's how they can turn that energy that they get, that radiation that they get, that wavelength that they get from the sun, and they turn it. I mean, it's just beautiful. This is how plants, they develop. They take something, they take the sunlight, and they turn it into matter. So this idea is incredibly important. Now, I'm being very methodical, and the way that I'm communicating is such that we're creating a cathedral of understanding. Mm-hmm. That, okay, this is an approach. These are the elements that it's important. This now allows us to really understand the importance that the planets around Earth play a role in our development. Because when you go outside, whether daytime or when you go outside at nighttime, the effect that so many planets that are around Earth have on us physiologically, it shifts and it changes things. Mm-hmm. It's more than just getting the sunlight for vitamin D during daytime. There are cosmic radiations that they come down and they integrate in an area that's referred to as Van Allen belt. That the radiations, these cosmic radiations from planets such as Saturn, such as Moon, such as Sun, Jupiter, they come in, they integrate, they trickle down all over the globe. And us, as these tiny little inhabitants of Earth, we absorb it and it reacclimates us psychospiritually. So why am I saying that? And why is that important? And how is that related to what we're going through? Well, if we take a look and if we see now that if now we have 20,000 satellites outside Earth and they're bombarding the entire Earth with radiations so that we could have technology that we refer to as 5G, it's not a far-fetched idea that could create interference. It could really create, to some extent, blockages of all these cosmic radiations that could disrupt us, both psychospiritually as well as physically. We know that the 5G technology and all these 20,000 satellites, what they provide, the electrification that they provide, it's water destructuring, meaning that when you're looking at a water molecule, my background, I'm bracketing, my background before going to medical school and beyond medical school in terms of various different trainings, I wanted to become a patent attorney. So my background, I have a very strong background in sciences, and I had to learn how to read through and comb through really significant sciences as a potential patent attorney. That's why I have equivalent to a master's degree in electrochemistry, as well as I was a medical technologist, microbiologist, and I have a minor in chemistry. This is way before even going to medical school. Why is that important? That's important. So because when I use a word as electrification, it's real to me. It's real. And I know that we can actually measure that physiologically. It's real to me because I know that a water molecule has a polarity. There are certain ways that it rearranges itself. And that is important because it affects our physiology, given that we are anywhere between 85 to 90% water content. So if there is a technology that is water destructuring, rest assured that it affects us. So it's not a far-fetched idea when we look at the entire globe. Perhaps my understanding is the first place that maybe even the corona or the COVID-19 pathology started was actually the first place on the planet that was carpeted corner to corner with 5G technology. Mm-hmm. Am I creating a causation? No, it's a correlation. I'm just saying, gosh, this is fascinating. And it's also fascinating when we're looking at in our country, the first set of cases that we discovered were up in Washington State, Kirkland, that we had multiple cases of corona viral infection as well as COVID-19 pathology and caused significant amount of mortality. So when we reflect that and when we look at the literature that we have, we can backtrack and we can see that when we had the 4G technology, we had another, episode of another viral infection. When we had, 3G technology, it was the, swine flu. When we had the 4G swine flu, the 3G was the SARS, and so forth. Again, no causation. It's just correlation, seeing that post-introduction of these technologies, something happens that it shifts and changes the terrain of our body as well as globally. And this can go back. You can go back to 1965, the Hong Kong flu epidemic, that for the first time we started having satellites in the Van Allen Belt area, the area that we talked about. We can go back to World War II, which was the first time that human beings were bombarded with radar, which is a form of electrification. Mm-hmm. You can go back to 1917, which was the first introduction of radio waves. And then shortly after, we had the Spanish flu, which really inflicted over 500 million people with the viral infections. So within the context of this model of anthroposophical medicine, when the air is really, and I'm paraphrasing what the writings that we have from 1917, this is what Rudolf Steiner said, that that it's becoming more difficult to be a human being when the air is just swirling with electrifications and different technologies. That was 1917. Shortly after, we had the Spanish flu pandemic. So when you're looking at this model, anthroposophical medicine, it's a psycho-spiritual physical model, meaning that a human being is considered to be a spirit having a physical manifestation. And from that perspective, when the cosmic radiations that we're getting, why is that important? It's important because it's a systemic approach to physiology. Within anthroposophical medicine, see, if you go back, and at the beginning, the reason that why is it that we don't have 10 days in a week? Why is it only 7 days in a week? How come we don't have 4 days in a week? How come the day is not 3 days? Mm-hmm. The reason that we have 7 days in a week, it was because at the beginning, the telescopes that we had, we could only see 7 planets around Earth. And each individual day was named after one of these planets. Monday is named after Moon. Sunday is named after Sun. Saturday is named after Saturn and Jupiter and so forth. So this is important because what we eat, the colors that we wear, based on anthroposophical concept, the colors that we wear on Monday versus Friday, it's different because it's correlated, and it helps us in terms of aligning our physiology to get the optimum level out of our life. This is a way of increasing perhaps what we can refer to as life force, or ki, Ki, or chi. Or if you're familiar with Ayurvedic systemic approach to medicine, they refer to it as prana. Mm-hmm. And it's equivalent to when you go to your gas station. If you drive a car that is gasoline based, you have a choice. You can put in unleaded gas, you can put in let it stop in 1972, or you can put special or super unleaded, or you can put in diesel. Why is it that most people put in super? Because of the longevity. Because when you put in anything other than super unleaded, there's more knocking in the engine, and there's more wear and tear in the engine. Mm-hmm. So the engine deteriorates at a higher rate, quicker. This is the reason that you invest in that. So when you know what is equivalent to a super unleaded gasoline that you can put not only inside your body in terms of what to eat on a Monday versus Friday versus Saturday, or what particular thoughts, or you pay close attention to what color to be exposed to, because now we know that colors, they have a frequency. Mm-hmm. And these frequency affects different neurolymphatic places. These neurolymphatic organs or centers, if you go back into thousands of years, way before dissection, which was in 1700s, we didn't dissect human beings before then. So we didn't know what they were. So the yogis and the mystics, what they would see, or people, they had access to conscious clairvoyancy, they would see these organs and they would see them as wheel that they were turning. So they would refer to them as chakra. And that's where the chakra system came from. Post-dissection, now we know what this chakra is. We know that it's the neurolymphatic. It's the nervous system, the spinal nerves, the lymphatic, the vessels, that they go into organs, the heart mostly, and so forth. But they knew it as heart chakra, or the root chakra, or the solar plexus, or the throat chakra, third eye, and so forth, and goes beyond. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because different colors affect different wheels. There is a reason when you're looking at red, orange, yellow, there these red, orange, yellow. A lot of the branding, a lot of the corporations, they know that. This is what they use, and this is the reason that when you're looking at all these labels and brands for McDonald's, for Burger King, for Taco Bell, for a lot of these are the colors that they use: red, orange, yellow. Why? Because these three colors, they activate the lower chakras, that they will make you horny, they will make you hungry, and they will make you angry. So as you come up to green, as you come up to blue, as you come up to indigo, as you come up to violet, and so forth, they have different frequencies and they affect us physiologically. One of the most powerful treatments that I've studied is really it's the therapeutic chromatography, integrative therapeutic chromatography, where when patients come in with intractable diseases such as advanced cancer, such as neurological issues, ALS, MS, recurrent infections, and so forth, you just use color therapy on them with incredible results. Well, gosh, if there are documented cases and textbook, how come most doctors don't study it? Because there's no money in it. Because there's nothing to capture or to patent so that you could, there's nothing. There's no purple pill, that you could make money and create a trickle down economy. So we started with German New Medicine. We had a short introduction. That led us into anthroposophical medicine. We had a short introduction. I gave you specific examples of how you work with it. Then we talked about the importance of planetary positioning and the effect that it has. There's a whole field of cosmobiology, the effect that the cosmological radiations have on us as inhabitants of Earth. And then we discussed various different things. And then we discussed the importance of introducing an electrification of Earth and how perhaps as a correlatory conversation, some of these things could create a disturbance physiologically. Now, I would like you to define what is a virus and how we perceive it within the model of anthroposophical medicine. I want you to consider that if you're a human being and if you are sensitive, now listen, not everyone. I mean, there are people that they can sleep on the floor and the next day you tell them, well, how'd you sleep? Oh my God, it was fantastic. There are people that they sleep on a mattress, and if it's not, horse's hair, and if it's, they just can't sleep. They're sensitive and their nervous system feels it, and they toss and turn the whole night. Those are the people that they get affected. That's the 1% of the 1% globally that they get sensitive. So when you introduce a new technology, such as radio, such as radar, such as satellites, such as to 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G now, and you have 20,000 satellites that they're radiating, these individuals, when they get bombarded with this new technology, they see it as an assault. So their cells loses certain number of DNA, RNA, and protein, which will self-organize into a virus. And once that virus is self-organized into existence, well, then it replicates. That's what viruses do. They go into the next cell and they start making copies of themselves. And then that person will start infecting other people. Once you look at it systematically, perhaps this could be a better context of understanding of why is it that the coronavirus in Italy reacts and behaves differently than the coronavirus in Iran or the coronavirus in South Korea or the coronavirus that we're seeing, let's say, in New York or in Seattle or in Washington State, Kirkland County. So that is a more intelligent way of approaching this. When you look at it, instead of naively saying, oh, well, it came out of a wet market in China and it just flew and it caught fire. And that is a very naive, if not reductionistic way of thinking. But when you look at it, that there is this assault on the cell and the cell excretes certain amount of DNA and RNA and protein, and they self-organizes into a new virus, that perhaps is a lot more intelligent way of approaching this and understanding why the virus behaves the way it does. And it also gives us the solution. And within the context of anthroposophical medicine, then the initial approach and remedy is that one that is a psycho-spiritual one. Because when you're looking at anthroposophical medicine, think of a human being as a carrot, where the hair is the roots, and they're planted into the cosmos, and the cosmos are the fertile ground, the soil that we're connected in, okay? So when you have all these satellites, it's sort of like you're cutting the roots of the carrot, and the carrot will wither away. That's a good model to really understand that, to understand the context of anthroposophical medicine. And now, from that perspective, psycho-spiritually, what to do. Then our spiritual practice becomes very important. I am using spiritual practice not as anything that belongs to any particular religious background or organized religion. If people feel comfortable with an organized religion, how fantastic. And they can follow that to the extent that they feel comfortable, and that can cultivate a spiritual culture and context for them. But a person that wants to cultivate their own spirituality, his spirituality is based on the understanding that human beings, we're all connected. And it's really the depth and the degree that we can grow, cultivate quality, such as everything that we can't get on Alibaba or Amazon or Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, right? Love, acceptance, forgiveness, gentility, kindness, authenticity, transparency, honesty, to start with, integrity, right? Equanimity. These are some of the qualities that we have to be able to cultivate inside. The problem with human beings, being a human being in an era such as now of dark ages where there's so much electrification that it pushes us into a state of being that is fight or flight. And when we go into that fight or flight, we become like a child. And when we become like a child, it's almost like someone has done lobotomy. We become sort of like, oh my God, I'm so frightened and fearful. And it's very easy for me to give my entire liberty and rights to another person and to say, oh my gosh, let's see, there are two books that for me, they're as holy as any books. One of them is Declaration of Independence, and I actually have the beginning of it completely memorized. And then the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And most people are, when you look at it, it's so beautiful, because most human beings, they don't realize that human beings didn't have rights. If you were to go back, it's like this idea. And, it's like I absolutely, I just love at the beginning of this. And I think this is as important as anything that I have to say or share my thoughts or ideas from a place of humility. I just want to read this. And it says, this is Declaration of Independence. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinion of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creators with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty. I mean, when you define what liberty is, to be emancipated, to have the privilege of making your own decision instead of being oppressed by a government or by another group of people and telling you exactly what's good for you, that you're forced and you should do it that way, that's what liberty really is. And the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, driving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. I mean, it's just beautiful what they thought about and what they considered.
It's so beautiful. I love it so much. It brought me to, I mean, it honestly, like, made me tear up because that's exactly what is at stake right now. And I don't think, I know that the people who are watching this, who are following us, and they know my personal opinion, I know that they know this, but I don't think a lot of people, I don't want to discount the trust. I think it's beautiful to have people trust, right? I think trust is important. So people, I believe, trust in their government, but I also think it's important to, like you're saying, you need to think for yourself and you need to open your eyes and you need to see what is happening right now, because little by little our rights have been taken away, and now this is just, I mean, we're just sitting in our homes and people are on social media, and because of social media, if it wasn't for your Instagram, all you see is just doomsday. Everything is doomsday, and people are in fight or flight and they're afraid of each other all day long. And now we don't have...
Yeah, and that is done intentionally. If I invite you over and if I play Exorcist, 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days. And if I say all the parks are closed, all the hiking trails are closed, you cannot gather up, you cannot have people over. If you are going outside, you better shut up. And metaphorically, what's a close way? What's the best way to really shut yourself up other than getting one of these, right? and putting on, right? And putting on your masks, right? It's and when you look at it from that perspective, it's you could get to a place of paralysis, you could get to a place of being depressed, anxious, or you could really get to this place of, as a spiritual warrior. Remember, based on anthroposophical medicine, the first remedy is to really activate your spiritual practice and to be part of the solution. If there is a stormy night out there and there are a lot of boats out there and ships, and they're trying to these ships, they're trying to get to safety, the greatest thing you can do is get your candle, get your cell phone's light, go up to the lighthouse and just shine it, because they will find their way. And really my commitment and the reason that I've dedicated certain level of resources to your organization, and the reason that I am here is because not only I love you, I respect you, and you're one of those people for so many, that you are a lighthouse. and your organization. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to start a conversation from a place of love and decency, knowing and believing and holding on to the pillars. When you look at all these sacred books that they have left for us, these just these sacred books of pursuits of happiness and our safety, these are the things that they mean something. That they mean something. This is the time, before this whole process, perhaps I may have maybe one posting on Instagram, maybe every 2 to 3 weeks. Now I may post 2 or 3 times a day. Why? Because as I minister to patients, you see, as I minister to patients, whether in the center, which is really the end of the road clinic. These are people that they have advanced carcinoma. These are people, they have advanced neurological issues, and we cannot just close up. This is not, a car wash that it starts raining, you close up and you go home and you hide and you coop up. This is the time that you show up and you minister, whether, in terms of as my role as a teacher in a medical school or teaching other physicians, through their fellowship, residency, medical students, internship, or seeing patients contributing in the free clinics or being part of the solution through our nonprofit organization, Love Button Global Movement, and realizing that the first responders, when you're a firefighter, when you're a police officer, you're a first responder. So now if you have a symptom, you're frightened. You're not going home because you don't want to, you think that you have COVID-19 pathology or coronavirus. You can't go home. So now that you've got to go to a hotel, you can't go and do your work, which is so needed. So as an organization, as an intentional healing community through Love Button Global Movement, and we were able to really recruit and get different companies and to obtain test kits where these first responders can be tested within 15 minutes. Wow. If they have it, great. If it was positive, they can do further confirmatory testing with PCR, polymerase chain reaction. And if they don't have it within 15 minutes, they know, so that they can go back and respond, because we need them right now. Mm-hmm. So the reason that I'm telling you this, it's not that we're doing anything special. It's just that to think out of the box and to be able to be part of the solution, whether that is posting on Instagram or using different movies and creating a distinction and becoming a source of inspiration, so that all of us as a community, we can come together and lovingly, we can go back and we can talk about really what is at stake. Mm-hmm. Because if we leave it alone, every time that any human being is frightened, there are 2 things that will follow. The first thing is that they're going to be force-fed a particular ideology, and something as part of their independence or their human rights is going to be taken away from them. Mm-hmm. And we've seen this with a lot of tragedies such as 9/11, mm-hmm. and we're beginning to really see that now. And this is the reason that instead of allowing maybe that 1% of the 1% to make a decision for all of us, mm-hmm. to really, within a democratic society, to allow all of us to have a conversation and to be part of that larger conversation, so we can have a dialogue, die to long, such as tongue, to language, to be able to go back and forth, instead of in a very subversive way, funnel feed one particular elite's monologue, forced down and trickles down to the remainder of society. That perhaps is what we're trying to vaccinate, that level of, violence that no human being should be exposed to.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Sadeghi, I love you so much. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate you putting that all out there because it's hard for me to explain. I've been researching so much. I've learned so much about 5G and the electrification, what Elon Musk is doing, which is what you referred to, the satellites that are out there. But to understand the correlation and go from, okay, 5G, it started in Wuhan, New York City has it, all these other places have it. And then still the question was, how did it go from a 5G affecting people to being infectious? Well, it does. That's, like you said, it's our cells. That's what's happening. It created the virus, and then that's how the virus has become infectious. And the way that you said it was so beautiful, and you're so inspiring. And I honestly, I'm so happy that you're on Instagram several times a day because it's what I look forward to going on. I appreciate you sharing with people that there are other ways of, accessing information online by, not having Wi-Fi maybe, and potentially using Ethernet. And this is an article that, is coming out. Thank you for writing about that. And I recently did that to my house. And it's these little things that we can do that maybe help us feel better and to be able to have less toxins in our body, to be able to not be as sensitive maybe. So I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you. And thank you for being the light and for teaching me always and for letting me share that wisdom with others.
Thank you, sweetheart. You make it so easy, and thank you and your incredible organization for being the lighthouse.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you. Thanks for everything. I'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.